Welcome back. Another punchy kicky show, and today we've got another fascinating discussion ahead of us. The man I'm talking to is known as the Bellville Bomber. Now, for many of you who don't know who the Bellville Bomber is, he's got another sort of a personality. He's the former frontman of Francois van Coke. He's a former frontman of Van Coke cartel. At the moment, he's doing his thing on his own. And if the 29th of May is anything to go by, he can clearly do not just singing on his own. Man I'm talking to is none other than Francois van Coke. Francois, thanks so much for the time, and we have a visitor. How's it, Max? Welcome to Punchy Kicky Show.
Max is kind of gonna join us as much as he needs to, but it's very lucky to be on, dude. Thanks for having me. I find it quite weird that I am on a fighting podcast, but it's an honor, dude. Really.
Francois, I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, I suppose a conversation with you about BoxOp would not sort of have any sort of justice if we don't talk about the fact that globally, celebrity exhibition, boxing, fights, matches, bouts are becoming a big thing. I mean, just think, last weekend, Paul versus Mayweather, obviously all of this. Probably, I mean, celebrity boxing matches have been around for quite a while, but internationally speaking, they've really sort of exploded with a lot of people sitting either this side of the fence or that side of the fence. Either you're hating the concept of what it's doing for the sport, or you're loving the fact that it's great marketing for the sport. I suppose it was only a matter of time before it was going to come to South Africa. There has been discussions by many other celebrities, most notably in the singing fraternity, of getting this together. But dare I say, you were the first to get it done here in South Africa in a concept that was dubbed BoxOp Rugby versus Rock. Dude, how does that make you feel in terms of being a guy that's known for rock, suddenly putting a massive, massive big toe into the sporting world?
Dude, you asked me a couple of things there, so I'm going to try and cover everything. So I was involved in a fight, or a fight night 2 years ago, a celebrity fight night. It was a charity event, an anti-bullying campaign. So I kind of then I kind of got involved slightly in the vibe, and this year, obviously, 2020 and 2021 has been disastrous for artists, and probably for people in your industry too, or definitely for people in your industry too. And when the BoxOp guys came to me and said there's an opportunity of me fighting someone, I was like, yeah, I don't really have anything better to do, and I've kind of put my toe in it before. I was like, I'm amped. And then they came back with Derick, and I was like, if there's someone I can take that has been a Springbok, it will probably be him. No. I just felt I can maybe do that. He hasn't played professionally like 15 years. I thought like I'm quite fit at the moment. I've been running for the last 6 years quite seriously. But obviously, I've got no experience fighting really, besides for what I did like 2 years ago. And obviously, it's been a global thing that's been happening. And I think the BoxOp guys are just lucky that they were the first guys to do it here. And the interest has been insane. I mean, like the response that I got in the last 2 weeks has been bigger than any show I've ever done. I mean, it's just been insane. And I'm very stoked that I was a part of it and that I could win. All of it kind of worked out very well and cool for me.
So obviously the transition, you've done this 2 years ago. The transition from rock to rolling hasn't been that major of a thing for you because of your experience a number of years back. And the concept that the BoxOp guys brought to you, I mean, was it always to stage rugby versus rock, or was there another idea and it just sort of evolved from there?
Dude, I think, I make it seem like there wasn't really a transition for me, but it was major. I mean, I've never trained like this before, never in my life. You know, I played quite serious rugby in high school. I mean, as serious as a first team of Bellville High can be.
Yes.
Played a little bit of club rugby after school, and but I mean, and then when I started playing music, I did nothing. I mean, like no fitness whatsoever besides for doing this and like jumping around on stage for about 14 years. So I did from 19 to 33. I did like nothing, no fitness whatsoever. I was super overweight and drinking a lot and doing lots of drugs, etc. And at 33, I kind of changed my vibe a little bit. I started doing a bit of exercise, and I've been building since then, you know. But I've never, the last 11 weeks, I've never trained like that before. You know what I mean? I started, I got into this thing. I started training with a trainer here in Bellville. It's like where I stay, and I was on a mission. I wanted to win, you know. I really wanted to win. That was the mission. The first 3 weeks I was with a guy in Bellville, and at the launch of BoxOp, I met Matt Leishing and Tian Fick from Madfit in Cape Town, and
yeah.
I went to them for one training session, and Matt told me, no, we're gonna train you like it's a professional fight. You know what I mean? You need to be here every day. You need to run at night as well. And I was like, cool, let's do it. Bring it on. I'm up for it. And I really kind of put serious work in. And I've never done that before. So that was a freak out completely. And what was the second part of your question? Sorry, I forgot now.
So just in terms of what it all meant in terms of changing from and the concept around it being a rugby versus rock.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so they came up with, I think they had other ideas of people that wanted me to fight originally, but it was also people in sport. And I think Derick was the first guy that kind of wasn't under contract with a team or anything like that. So, yeah, the rugby versus rock thing obviously worked quite well because it's people from completely different backgrounds taking each other on, you know.
And obviously, in terms of the Afrikaans community, Derick Hougaard being pretty much a legend in his own right, yourself being a legend in your own right. I mean, the Afrikaans community must have just absolutely loved the concept of having two legends wanting to get. And I suppose the cool thing about the two of you is that, to my knowledge, there was no major beef between the two of you. There wasn't any sort of serious amount of dislike, where we see in a lot of these sort of more recent celebrity exhibition fights, there's been a bit of beef. There's something in it, and there's a bit of bad blood. You guys didn't have that, and it just seemed to be a great way of bringing together, like you said, two fantastic communities around two guys just going to get in the ring and, you know, give each other hell for the duration of the fight.
Yeah, dude, I think we actually became better friends through this process. You know what I mean? Like in the beginning of the marketing for the event, we kind of pretended there was a bit of beef, but there wasn't really anything. And you know how it is. Like if you have to fight someone, you kind of have to give them some gears here and there. So we gave each other a bit of gears here and there. But I mean, really, like I found Derick like 3 days after the fight, and I think we're better friends after this whole experience than before. So that's pretty cool.
And talk to me, you said the training wise, this was probably the most hectic training you've ever done in your life. You spoke about the exercise component. I saw some of the marketing in the build up to BoxOp, and one of the things that came out quite strongly was the nutrition side of things. I mean, obviously being older in life, both Derick and yourself spoke a lot about how nutrition was becoming more and more important for you as individuals. And obviously in this process, how big a change was these last, let's call it 8 to 11 weeks in your life from an exercise and a nutrition point of view, from a lifestyle point of view?
Yeah, quite major for me. I mean, like I said, like I've been quite serious about exercise for the last 6 years. I mean, nothing to the extent of what we did now, but I've been pretty serious about, you know, like running at least four long runs a week. You know, gymming here and there, whatever. But the nutrition side I never really cared about. That was like where I was really slacking. I would eat whatever and um, so on. That's something I definitely changed a little bit in the last 8 weeks, and it was made easier with you know, our sponsor Munch Measured Meals made it easier. But it's definitely changed the way I look at food. You know, what you need and what you normally can put in. So I think that will also change for me in the future. It's something I'm looking at now. And I mean, the training side, you know, I've reached a level of fitness that I haven't had before. So it's also something that I would like to maintain going forward.
And obviously Max is in agreement with you there. He says his dad needs to keep fit and healthy for as long as possible.
So I need to still play with him, you know, when I'm in 15 years when he's throwing a ball around, you know.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the fight itself. I mean, obviously going into the fight, I mean, Derick, he's a bigger guy than you. He came in, 10 kilos heavier than you on fight night?
About 10 kilos more, yeah.
What was some of the thinking, you know, from your coaches in terms of how you were going to handle a guy bigger, heavier than you? Obviously, training is one thing, but you know, when someone bigger and heavier you does land a punch, it obviously hurts a lot harder than someone your same size and same weight. What was the thinking in terms of the strategy into the fight?
The thinking was that I'm going to kind of stay on the outside, you know, fight from the outside and fight with straight shots. I think Matt has trained a bunch of rugby players, and I think he knew kind of the way Derick would fight, you know, just from experience of working with rugby players. And the idea was for me to go in, land a couple of shots and come out. Go in and land a couple of shots and come out. And that's kind of the way I fought the whole fight. And Derick, I think we also knew that my fitness level might be a little bit better than his. And I think he got a bit gassed around the second round, and then you know, he started swinging wildly, and that's kind of what we thought was gonna happen. And I just kept kind of at the game plan, just kind of going straight, and that was the plan. We just kind of stuck with that all the way through the 6 rounds.
Well, you could see that definitely in the last round. I mean, Derick was swinging for the fences. You were still sort of coming down the middle, landed a couple of combos. You were both very, very tired. Obviously, you know, you could see that in that final round. The blood nose for Derick at the end there. I mean, for you, obviously, no major beef in terms of yourself versus Derick. But when you're training for something like this and you see your opponent suddenly get that blood nose, how did that feel? You know, just from the guy giving it and dishing it out. I mean, obviously, it's got to feel end of the fight. I'm tired. Bang! Look at what I've just done. That's got to sort of G you up a little bit.
It does, dude. Yeah, it definitely does. You know, like I've been telling my friends, like when I was younger, like touring in the rock world, I've been in a bunch of bar fights. You know what I mean? Never won any of them. And my previous official fight, the boxing match I had with Rob van Vieren, I also lost. So I've never actually won a fight. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So landing that last combo, I was like, damn, I can win a fight. You know what I mean? I got that feeling, and that was really cool. You know what I mean? For me, it was also kind of important. You know, I took it as serious as I could have. Obviously, we only had like a couple of months to kind of become boxers, but yeah. I was serious about you know, trying to do the best boxing I can possibly do in the amount of time that I had, you know, respecting the sport and you know, people that have been doing it their whole lives.
Talk to me then about, you know, obviously this 8 weeks of training that you went through. I mean, that must have had quite a toll on your wife. I mean, she watching you train, and then obviously fight night itself, watching you step into that ring, knowing the guy on the other side, Yes, he doesn't hate you. He doesn't want to kill you, but his intent is to try and knock you out. I mean, that's got a little bit of toll on the missus, in terms of her sitting on the side there watching this take place.
Yeah, dude, my wife knows me well. Like, she's,
okay.
We've been together since I was 20 years old, like before we started Fok of Police Car. So she knows that I take things to the extremes. Sorry, Max just has to look at us again.
He needs to get involved.
She knows that I always take things to the extremes, and when the fight opportunity came around, I was like, babe, I really want to do this, and she was like, okay, do it. Just make sure you're careful and not liable for any injuries. Sorry. I trained super hard. So I think that irritated her a bit, like she was like, I can never be married to a sportsman. Like, you drive me crazy, like getting up this time in the morning, and then you also want to run at night, and then you tell me when you're going to train here and this and that. So I think she was kind of irritable, and I think she's just happy that it's over. She supported it all the way, but she's happy that it's over. And in this last week and a half, I've been challenged online by so many people,
Wow, okay.
From like 16-year-old Lighty saying, I can take you, old man, to like, actors on South African soaps that they say they want to fight me at the next BoxOp. But she's just like, just quit while you're ahead. Don't go at it again. So if it's up to her, I will never be in a boxing ring again.
So you've done it now. You've won your first fight ever, as you've said. You are the BoxOp champion. Does that mean that you have to defend that title? And obviously, I'm discounting your wife at the moment. But does that mean that you have to defend the title? Was this part of the deal? And are we expecting to see you back in the ring in some way? Because clearly, you've done boxing. Now we just got to put you in an MMA cage and see what you can do there.
Dude, that scares me. I'm fine, like standing up and punching, but grappling seems like the most hectic, tiresome thing that I can ever imagine. So I'll never do that. Okay. I'll say no to that right off the bat.
Okay, cool.
But dude, I'm not defending any title or anything like that. Like, I made a joke that I would like to challenge Rob van Vieren again, because he beat me in my first fight. But that's not very serious either. We'll see what happens. But I mean, I'll give it another bash if the opportunity arises. You know what I mean? And I'm going to keep on training with Matt twice a week, just to kind of become a better boxer. I feel like I've learned like some kind of skill, and I would like to become better at it, just for myself. And if the opportunity really arises sometime, then I'll do it. But I don't want to say like it will be this year or next year or anywhere soon.
Final question for you. Francois, obviously you got your hands full there, and Max is definitely wanting your attention.
I'm just going to do this, then he's going to chill, yeah?
Okay, so final question for you. Performing the very next day, because obviously you fought, and then the very next day you went and you performed. What was that like? Because surely you must have been a little bit of swelling on the face, swelling around the mouth area. Obviously you had headgear on, etc., but the punches still get through that. What was that like, trying to perform at your after party the very next day?
Dude, it's quite funny that you asked that, because a bunch of people, the Pretoria Rugger Bugger dudes, because the show was in Pretoria.
Yes.
When I was advertising the show, kind of jokingly saying it's the after party, there was a bunch of dudes on social media telling me like, "Oh, are you gonna play when Derick is blackened both your eyes and you can't see anything?" and stuff like that. And I was just like, no, I've done some hard sparring in the last couple of weeks, and I can still kind of carry on with my day. I felt like I'll be able to do it, you know what I mean? And the next day, the show was actually great. I think the adrenaline was still pumping so hard. It's insane. Like, I think it took me like kind of 4 days to kind of really come back to earth, you know what I mean? So the show was actually very easy and chilled, and it was kind of a mellow acoustic show, so nothing too hectic. The adrenaline was pumping. I was feeling good.
And then, so absolute final question for you, Francois. For someone like yourself, who literally over the last 8 to 11 weeks took yourself out of your comfort zone, what's your message to youngsters out there, to anybody out there for that matter, that is looking to take on something brand new, get themselves out of their comfort zone? Based on your experience, what would your message be to those people that are really thinking, should I or shouldn't I?
Dude, I think what I realized in this last couple of weeks was anything is possible, really. Because, you know, like I told you earlier in the conversation, like a couple of years ago, I was like a overweight kind of drug addict, like really. And I was saying to myself back then, one day I'll be a fitness freak, like as if like I'm joking about this because it will never happen. You know what I mean? And if you actually do it, it's possible. If you have a goal and you want to do something, anything is really possible. I know it's very cliched saying that, but you know, it happened for me. I've never felt this good, never done as much exercise, and it was possible for me to come through this whole thing, get into the ring, fight someone, and come out alive on the other side. Crazy.
Well, Francois, thank you so much for your time. It's been a great pleasure chatting to you. Thank you for your insights into the last couple of weeks, what it's like to go from a rock star to a boxing champion at BoxOp. From rock star to sportsman, and obviously great dad in the background there. Thanks so much for your time. Cheers, Max. I look forward to chatting to you soon. Maybe when you're up in Joburg again, we get together and talk a little bit more about some of this other boxing opportunities that could come up, and maybe I can convince you to get into a cage one day.
Whoa, dude. Yo, you're going to have to give me more than 3 weeks for that one. That's for sure. I mean, more than 11 weeks to train for that one.
Well, Francois, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate your time. And Max says he's sorry if he made too much noise, but he loves you guys.
Thanks, Max. We love you too. Francois, thanks for your time, and you have a great day further.
Thank you so much, man.